The silence of the men. You know nothing bad will happen. I trust you. That's my boyfriend, Joey. He's been trying to persuade me to sleep with him for weeks now, but I just don't want to risk it. If we have sex, I'll pass this disease on to him, and who knows what kind of powers will manifest. I really want to, but I'm just not ready for that. I understand. He tells me with a kiss on the cheek. He's always been so patient with me. No matter what happens, we will always have each other. Food. Looks like baby is hungry again. He's always hungry. That's Joey's cue to leave. Nobody wants to see baby feed. My family and I always eat together. Grandmother sits in the middle with my parents. She can't stand there oogling at the dinner table whilst we're trying to eat. It's ironic because grandmother is a world-class oogler. How else could she maintain 5 romantic partners? I just realised you don't know all our names. That's quite a mistake. I'm so sorry. Grandmother's name is Delphi. Grandfather is Arthur, but grandmother always called him Hermes for whatever reason. Father is Hugh, mother is Ellen, I'm Charles, my sister is Zena, and of course, baby is baby. Though my parents have started calling him Hal, because by this point, he might as well be pure AI. I told you that you'd learn more and more about us over time. We don't usually watch TV whilst we eat, but we've been following a recent news story focusing on the recent disappearances of 3 young men. Nobody has actually said it out loud yet, but we're all pretty sure it's some archetype. It has to be. Now I'm regretting sending Joey home on his own. I should have gone with him to make sure he was safe. I'd never forgive myself if anything happened to him. Dad notices I'm upset. I guess it's difficult to hide your emotions when you're bouncing around the room. Nobody else notices, but Dad has always been the most in touch with his feelings. He's like some kind of empath, I guess. Tell me what's wrong. He crosses his arms waiting for an answer. I tell him nothing, but he's not convinced, so I just let it all out. He nods in acknowledgement. He's always been a good listener. He was the first person I came out to, even before Joey. Go after him, he encourages, and I'm not one to start a debate, so I bounce out the room, then the house, down the street, until I catch up with Joey. For heaven's sake, Chucky, you made me jump. He calls me Chucky because I'm cute like the doll. Who knows, probably possessed too. I tell him I've come to walk him home, and in absolutely no uncertain terms is he to argue. As I said, I'm not one to debate. Not that he would argue. He loves me being so chivalrous. Do I look like a knight? Why am I asking you? You can't see me. My point is no, I don't look like a knight at all. Joey doesn't live far from me, thanks Satan, because hop, skip, jump, snap, crackle and popping all over the place really takes it out of you. We get to his door and he's standing there looking all sweet and cute and handsome and gorgeous and... Sorry, I got lost in his eyes for a moment. He's expecting a kiss, of course, looking all pouty and excited, so obviously I kiss him. Who wouldn't? He'd be a fool to ignore the pining of lips like those. One taste and you're in heaven. So far so good, no archetypes in sight. Joey closes his door slowly, staring at me the whole time, before it fully closes and he runs to his front window to gawk at me some more. Weirdo. I head home, it's cold out now, so I squeeze my heart in a way that pumps my blood faster around my body, to all the little cold bits of me it couldn't reach quick enough otherwise. It's a method that works remarkably well, to the point I could walk around shirtless in the snow if I wanted to, without even a hint of a chill. In this moment, though, it's not the weather that chills me. It's the atmosphere. Something is lurking in the farthest most reaches of my peripheral vision. I turn. I see nothing. Just a long, quiet road. I shrug it off and jump back home. Where did you go then? Grandmother doesn't tear her eyes from the TV. Probably snogging his boyfriend. Zena snickers to herself. She thinks she's so funny. I would call her out on her cattiness, but she scares me. I quite like resembling a human being and not a frog. I tell them I was just seeing Joey home, and Grandmother goes on one of her spiels about how there aren't enough gentlemen like me out there anymore. I visited 1955 last night, and I think that might just be the last time a gentleman has stepped foot on this planet. Until of you, of course, dear. Such a good boy. Oh, your grandfather would be so proud. If only he could see you now. I feel something icy touch my shoulder. I can see you, my boy, and yes, I'm very proud. I thank Grandfather, and he fades back into nothing. Hermes, don't forget that. Oh, he's gone. Annoying. I want him to pick me up some tea bags. Can ghosts even pick up tea bags? From my understanding, the most Grandfather can pick up these days is a nap. He does a shocking amount of napping for a man who is sleeping with the fishes 24/7. My phone starts ringing. It's Joey, so I answer it. Chucky, there's a figure standing on the opposite side of the road. It's been staring up at my window for the past few minutes, since just after you left. I don't know what to do. I tell him to stay where he is and wait for me to show up. I'm ready to leave and I'm at the door, but Mum steps back into the room from washing up and tells me to wait for her. I guess she's not so bad at sensing something is up either. It's more than likely she can sense someone needs a fist to the face. Now it's a family outing. Mum is here, so is Dad. Zena is babysitting baby, and Grandmother is coming with us too. I could do with a nice walk. Should we bring the pig? So we bring Truffles as well. It takes us 5 times as long as it should to get to Joey's. Long enough for his mum to be standing out her open door worried sick. Oh, Charles, thank goodness you're here. It's Joey. He said he saw someone outside and went to confront them, and now he's gone. Of course he did. That boy couldn't follow instructions to save his life. Literally. Good job we brought the pig with us, Dad says seriously, before he asks Rachel to grab something of her son's. She comes back with his phone. I'm sorry, his phone? The prat went to confront a stalker and didn't think to bring his phone. I swear his one brain cell must be on holiday or something, Jesus Christ. My dad places Joey's phone under Truffle's snout, and he does that cute little snort thing before his signature. Squeal! Except he does it a lot better than that, of course. And off he goes, trotting in the direction of the scent. Grandmother decides to stay with Rachel to keep her company, so now it's just my parents, Truffles, and I walking down the dark and quiet street. We've been walking for around, 20 minutes now, and still haven't seen a sign of my boyfriend. At least Truffles seems to know where he's going. He's a good pig. No, actually, he's the best pig. He stops by the feet of a woman around the same height as my mum. Good evening, Clarissa, my dad says with a tired smile. Clarissa is an old school friend of my parents. She's some kind of doctor or something. I don't know much about her, in fairness, but she seems nice enough. She of course asks us where we're going, and we tell her. Oh, the poor thing. This just won't do. I'll come help you search for him. We thank her and she joins us on the rest of our trek. It's been a further 10 minutes now, and my legs have had just about enough of this. I'm tempted to just give up. It serves him right for getting his freaking phone. But my traitor of a heart wouldn't allow it. I care about him too much, and my family feel the same. Sometimes I feel like they love Joey more than me, which I don't mind because being loved is exhausting. I'd much rather sleep or eat. On that note, I've noticed Clarissa has been licking her lips a lot, and her stomach has been particularly vocal. Have you eaten, Clarissa? My dad asks, so it's clearly not just me who notices. Oh yes, thank you. I had the most delicious dinner tonight. I thought I'd go for a walk before I come back home for dessert, and that's when I bumped into you. She smiles with her teeth, and I could swear her eyes bulged slightly. Speaking of bulges, I just remembered I forgot to put my packer on. These jeans just don't hit the same without a bulge. Bulges aside, Clarissa does seem a little off to me, and I just can't put my finger on why. My parents notice it too. Mum is side-eyeing her so hard, I wouldn't be surprised if she gives herself a migraine. Why don't we take a break at mine? Clarissa suggests. Obviously none of us want to take a break. We've only been searching for half an hour or so, and yes, I know I've complained about it the whole time, but that's one of my favourite pastimes. The truth is, I would do like Jesus and walk 40 days and nights in the desert without food, if it meant I would find my Joey. Soppy, I know. But something tells me there's more to Clarissa's offer than meets the eye, so I give a nod to my parents, telling them we should accept, and they understand immediately my intentions. We follow Clarissa to her home. Her house reeks of meat. You'd think it was a butcher. Thank goodness it isn't, because then Truffles wouldn't be allowed to pass it. It's immoral to walk your pig past a butcher. This isn't pork meat, and I think we're smart enough to know what kind of meat our dear friend Clarissa has been cooking up. But does she know that we know? Clarissa encourages us to take a seat and starts boiling the kettle. She stares at it with her back to us, which in my opinion is the rudest thing you can do to your guests. Help yourself to some refreshments. I've been cooking all afternoon. I'm just so hungry today. Ravished, you might say. There is no way I'm touching any of this garbage. My dad reaches his hand out to grab a meat pie, but Mum snaps it away. She did it a bit too hard because he's looking up at her with those doe eyes, rubbing the pain away. She apologises. We're vegans, Mum lies. Clarissa looks over her shoulder surprised. Oh, that is interesting. Is that because of your pig? Mum nods with a fake smile. Clarissa turns back to the kettle. Would it be 1 lump or 2? She asks no one in particular. What is her game here? What's with the formalities? We get it. She's a cannibal. So what? She likes eating human flesh. Who doesn't? There's no need to make a whole performance to hide it. She should own it. Milk? She says, placing the mugs in front of us. I nod with a fake smile, one almost as convincing as Mum's. You can see how proud she is of me following her in her footsteps. Do pigs drink milk? She's directing the question to Truffles, whose eyes her sceptically. Pigs can drink cow's milk, assuming that's the milk she's offering. But we're watching his weight. Mum stares directly at Clarissa. Clarissa begins showing signs of frustration, an eagerness to snap and show her true colours. It's clear she's not enjoying putting on this friendly facade. Where is Joey? Mum comes right out with it. Dad and I look at each other with shared hesitance, but we trust Mum knows what she's doing. Oh, very clever. Nothing gets past you, does it? Clarissa takes a seat at the head of the table. Don't worry, it's not like I've used his finger to stir my tea. Someone has been listening to too much Kesha. It's just as well she hasn't, because nobody gets to suck his teeth for dessert except me. Or any part of him, really. The truth is, I don't want him anyway. He's just a little bait to lure my real meal here. Has she actually lost it? Is she about to start monologuing her evil plan? That never works out in a villain's favour. That being us, of course, Mum challenges. Not all of you. Just him. She points a finger at me. The heck did I do to her? What'd you say, Charlie? Give yourself up for the safety of your boyfriend? I'm all for sacrificing myself for Joey, but it's not necessary. Clarissa has made a very big mistake not inviting me on my own. Does she actually think my parents are going to be fine with her eating me? I'll ask you again, Clarissa. Where is Joey? Mum has her hand in her fist now. She's ready to land a punch whenever she's given a cue. He's a little bit tied up at the moment. On my bed. The cow! She got to tie Joey to a bed before me. Oh, she is so done. You don't want to eat, Charles, my dad pipes up. You might catch something. He does his signature breathy dad laugh. Nice one, Dad. Oh, but don't you see? That's exactly why I want to eat him. Why is she talking like I'm not in the room? This woman is so rude, I swear. If I eat his flesh, I gain his powers. I'm not sure that's how it works, but I'm also not about to Google whether or not cannibals gain the abilities of the people they consume. That would not look good on my search history, and it already has enough to be concerned about. I tell her to bite me, sarcastically of course, and she grins like the Cheshire Cat at the request. With pleasure. She lunges towards me and takes a massive chunk out of my arm. I yell out in pain and jump back 4 spaces to get away from her. I control my blood flow so too much blood doesn't come out at once, but I start to feel faint. Mum punches her square in the jaw. One of her teeth flies out, which Truffles gets a curious sniff of, and Dad runs over to me to see if I'm okay. But I'm not. The room won't stop spinning. I wake up slowly on the sofa. Truffles pushes his snout against my hand so I know he's there. He really is the best pig. I sit myself up and see Dad trying to lull Clarissa the cannibal into a trance, but he's struggling. She's too strong of mind. It is distracting her from me though, which is my cue to sneak off and find Joey. I sneak upstairs as quietly as I can, squeezing my arm to keep as much blood in as I can, as I begin pushing the blood back around my body like normal. I get to the top of the stairs and look behind me to see Truffles bouncing his way up. He trots off to a room on the left and I follow him inside. Sure enough, Joey is there, sprawled out on the bed with his arms and legs tied up to the post, tape on his mouth. He looks so hot right now. I tear the tape off and he hardly flinches. He can take a bit of pain, good to know. Truffles begins chewing at the rope holding his left arm, and I run around to the other side to untie his right. I'm so glad you're here, both of you. He looks between both Truffles and I. Truffles oinks a little. You're welcome. But I scowl at him. I still haven't gotten over him being a twit and not taking his phone. Once both his arms are free, he unties his legs himself and I help him off the bed. We hear running coming upstairs. Clarissa bursts in and slams the door behind her, trapping us inside. How did she overpower my parents? That's all I can think about as she makes a beeline towards me. Truffles runs in front of her and she trips over him. Joey grabs the rope off the bed and gets to work immediately, tying her hands behind her back. He's good with rope. Good to know. Clarissa starts gnashing her teeth at me, fighting to escape. I'm not sure what to do. This is usually the part where Mum smashes their head in. I approach her cautiously as Joey pulls the rope, holding her down tighter so her chin is resting on the ground. I look down at my foot and contemplate my next move, but I can't do it. I can't stomp her head in like this. She may be an archetype, but she still looks human. Nothing has really changed about her appearance at all, aside from the animalistic hunger in her eyes. Poison. The thought hits me like a ton of bricks. She's poisoned my parents with tea. That's how she got past them. I didn't drink any of her tea, which is why I'm fine. Well, as fine as you can be with a chunk missing from your arm. I tell Joey to hold her there for a moment, and he looks at me like, really? Truffles decides this is a good moment to chip in and plonks himself on her back, weighing her down even more and making Joey's job easier. I run downstairs and see my parents laying semi-conscious on the floor. They'll be fine. Mum is already beginning to stir awake, and my dad won't be long after. I head to the kettle where I see the little bottle of poison sitting there next to the sugar cubes. I'm not sure what poison it is. I'm not a toxicologist, but now it makes sense why she had her back turned to us. I grab a meat pie, trying to sidestep the fact it's made of human flesh, open the lid slightly with my nails and douse the contents of the poison. I place the lid back down as best as I can and run back upstairs. I kneel down in front of her piranha-like face and say a cool line like, "You ordered the human pie, madam?" and slam it into her face. She greedily laps it up, and it's not long before she stops struggling and Truffles and Joey let her go. Her body begins to break off into dust instead of laying there for my parents to clean up like normal. Joey and I look at each other, confused, and even Truffles snorts his bewilderment. The dust starts blowing towards me, and I feel it entering every pore in my body. It doesn't hurt. It feels natural. Once I've absorbed it all, the palm of my hand begins to glow a shocking red, and I turn it over to see a crazed smiley face looking back at me. It disappears, and I'm left with confusion and a slight craving for human flesh.